And today's dive, it's a cold case, a real head-scratcher, the kind of story that sticks with you. We're talking about Dorothy Jane Scott.
Yeah, Dorothy's case, it's one of those that the more you look into it, the less clear it seems to get.
Exactly. Vanished, seemingly into thin air. A young mom from California, just gone. But before we get into it, for any listeners new to the deep dive, we're all about, like the name says, really digging into the details of a case.
Right, and we're not just rehashing old news here. We're going through the evidence, the theories, all the stuff that makes you go, what if?
Exactly. Today's case, it's got it all. A mysterious stalker, cryptic phone calls, even remains found years later. We're trying to piece together what happened to Dorothy Jane Scott. So picture this. It's 1980, Anaheim, California. Dorothy's a single mother, just trying to live her life.
It's like any other night, right? She's at the hospital, not for herself, but she's doing a solid for her coworkers, dropping them off.
Yeah, one of them got a spider bite, of all things.
Talk about bad luck.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for a prescription. Seems pretty routine, right? But here's where things go sideways.
Sideways is an understatement. So she's bringing the car around.
Right.
And her coworkers, they're watching, waiting. But the car
just speeds off. They see it approaching, then boom, it's gone. They can't even tell who's driving. It's like something out of a movie.
Chilling, right. I mean, did someone force her into the car? Did she drive off in a panic? Was it even her driving? Nobody knows.
Exactly, and that's just the beginning. The thing is, Dorothy was already living a nightmare. She had a stalker. This wasn't just some random dude either. This guy was calling her, threatening her, saying he was going to, and I quote here, cut her up into bits so no one will ever find her.
Oh, man, that sends shivers down my spine just hearing that. I mean, imagine the mental torture of those calls, that constant fear.
Absolutely. And these calls, they weren't just a one-time thing. This went on for months leading up to her disappearance.
So, naturally, you have to wonder, was the stalker involved? Did he finally make good on his threats? Or is this a completely separate thing? Was there someone else who might have wanted her gone? Did she have any enemies? Anyone who might have held a grudge?
Those were the million-dollar questions, right?
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even more complex, even more unsettling. The calls, they don't stop after she disappears.
Wait, what? Who were they calling?
Her mother. The stalker starts calling Dorothy's mother.
No way.
Oh, yeah. The caller, he claims to have killed Dorothy. Or in a truly twisted move, sometimes he'd say he was holding her hostage. Just imagine the agony her family went through, the not knowing.
That's horrific. Was he just messing with them? Trying to throw off the police, maybe?
It's impossible to say what his game was. But then, 4 years later, comes another twist. They find human remains at Edwards Air Force Base. It's Dorothy.
So they finally had some answers, some closure.
Not really. The cause of death, if they couldn't determine it.
You gotta be kidding me.
Nope. So now we're left with even more questions. Was she killed right away, or did she die later somewhere else? Did the stalker move the remains? It's like trying to solve a puzzle where half the pieces are missing and the other half don't seem to fit.
Exactly. So was it the stalker? Was it someone else entirely? We're back to square one.
And that's the frustrating part. We're left with fragments, anonymous phone calls, a car speeding away, remains found years later. Each one a clue. But together, they don't add up to a clear picture.
It's a story that, frankly, keeps you up at night. A young mother, a terrifying stalker, and a mystery that's lingered for decades. What happened to Dorothy Jane Scott?
We might never know for sure. But maybe, just maybe, someone out there holds a piece of the puzzle. Maybe the detail, a memory, something that didn't seem important at the time.
That's where you come in, listeners. Sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective. So if anything in Dorothy's story resonates with you, don't dismiss it. Maybe you hold the key to unlocking this mystery.
Because one thing's for sure, Dorothy Jane Scott deserves justice, and her family deserves answers.
And that's the deep dive for today. We'll be back next time with another case, another story that needs to be told. Until then, stay curious.